she's a huge Harry Potter fan, but Harry Potter was a no-no. It was not allowed in the house. So they had a hidden set of Harry Potter books.
Really?
That's their version of being bad, which I think is amusing.
That's their version of me hiding my Judas Priest and Black Sabbath albums. I couldn't have around the house because they looked evil.
That's why I'm always amused. It's just like, you had Harry Potter books, and my mom found my lockpicks in my closet.
What are you doing with these? Well,
why do you have these? This is the Gray Hair Daycare Podcast, with a combined age of 111 years and a combined IQ right in that same range. Your hosts, Frank Sirio and Carlo Russo. Here we are. And welcome back to the Gray Hair Daycare Podcast, episode 25. That sounds like something.
It sounds more than 24.
It sounds like one more than 24.
It is something.
And it's a little ways from 30.
A quarter of
100. Yeah, that's it. We made it.
We're proud.
If nothing else, we proved that we can count.
We can count.
We can,
up to 25.
At least up to 25.
Next week or what? I can't promise anything.
It's all going to go cattywampus.
You know what I love to hear?
Yes, you do.
So please hit us with it.
Well, my name is Frank Sirio. I am 55 years old, and my daughter is 10 weeks old. 10 weeks old. It has gone by in the blink of an eye.
Yes,
10 weeks is just so quick. We're here.
10 weeks old.
Fully into parenting an infant.
Yeah, you feel like you feel like a dad. You're wearing it well. You're doing the dad thing. I ask you every day I see is like, what's going on now? What's going on now? And, and we try to keep it for the podcast, but some stuff, we have to talk, and we talk almost every day. But 10 weeks is it what you thought 10 weeks, if you thought that at all, was going to be like?
I don't know if I thought it out in that great detail. When I look at how things are now, I think that it's more fun, I think, and simpler. I feel like we've got our arms around things, but there are still challenges where she just gets out of sorts. Yeah. Right? So you get into a rhythm, but we're not at the point now where she's on a schedule yet. But just the feeding, sleeping, it's one of the things that it's very easy. The train is going down the tracks, but then if it wobbles a little, it very easily veers. And if it does veer off, you're trying to get it back on for like 36 hours.
Please.
Like it's a day and a half to kind of pull her back into where she normally
whatever you think regular is at this point.
Exactly.
Or normal. Yeah.
What normal life is.
Yeah. But it's like we talked about before. It's like just when you get used to something, something else happens or appears or becomes the new norm.
And we have we've had some firsts happen since the last episode to talk about. So that stuff too. So,
but that's awesome. It's been a pleasure watching you become this other person that I've never seen you. Right? You've seen me as a dad for many years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I've only known you as either my friend or then a husband.
And it's funny because as you say that, I remember you left my life.
Yes.
As because I moved away, I lived away from Syracuse for 8 years.
Yeah.
So you left me. I think you maybe just started dating Trina.
Yeah.
And then when we kind of came back together I remember where I was standing at the moment. You were in Lowe's where I was working, and he came around the corner, and you had each other. It was either Nick or Natalie.
I probably had Natalie
in the cart.
Absolutely.
So that he was little.
Yep.
And there you were, and you were a married dad.
I was a dad,
and from then on.
So you went from like a single Carlo, which we worked together and known, to coming back to a married man with a child.
Yeah, family man, Carlo.
And that's like, And I obviously had changed. He
looks the same.
But with you, I've only known you.
Yeah, the whole time.
Away and here as single Frank or even married.
I was single when I left, and I was married when I came back, but there weren't any kids running around.
This it's been neat to see at our age
Yeah.
the changes that
the difference.
we think at this point we are where we are, right? I mean,
Yes.
at 55 years old, 56
Yes.
years old, you're going to change a little here and there, and maybe when our kids have kids, grandkids, we change again as grandparents. Yeah. But at our age right now, you are who you are. But it's nice to see, like, oh, now you're the dad version of Frank.
Yeah.
And that's new for me, and that's kind of cool.
It is. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I am, because I get to go home with the baby
Mostly,
cries.
I wanted to be a parent just for that.
Just for me.
Mostly for Carlo. So he could see.
I knew it.
Dad
I
Frank.
knew all this time and effort was for me in this podcast.
But no, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do now as dad Frank,
Dad version,
as you might imagine, I use Google Alerts.
Yes, of course.
Google Alerts. I have these searches for stuff about parenting, childhood development, and all kinds of things. So if there's any interesting new stuff that comes out, that I kind of, in my email in the morning, I get a list of articles, and and Kelly suggested, because I haven't achieved reading through any books.
Our book report
since the book report has ended with the dog books mostly.
And you said you kind of skimmed the last couple of them, right?
Well, and I was moving fast. But I do read a lot, but it's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Right.
So she suggested, she's like, you should put these, when you find these articles that are fun, put them in book report.
Sure.
So we're going to go to one we have not done in a while, book report. Okay. So the book report on this time, there's and I'm not usually a fan of CNBC, but
when you said that, I went,
their website, CNBC's website, has a whole collection of articles on, well, it's like success, and then under that, raising successful kids.
Okay.
And this particular article I thought was very interesting because it's talking about one of the markers of successful, highly productive adults as children, the thing that is very common for all successful people.
Okay.
And that was being early and avid readers, which is something that now I love to read. Kelly reads voraciously all the time. She always has. She is continually, for a lot of our relationship.
I'm jealous of that.
She will. I wish I was better with it too. She loves Harry Potter. She will be continually, in addition to whatever else is in her queue, she will continually be reading through all of the Harry Potter books on a loop.
Wow.
Now, lately, she's had enough to read with all the parenting stuff that Harry Potter has set aside. But yeah, she'll like over and over again. Like she reads to relax.
And I could be wrong, but because she does that, TV is really not that important.
That was one of the things in the beginning of and I think I shared this with you when I was trying to figure out who this person was. When she told me she didn't own a television for a while, and I'm like,
I almost fainted off the escalator when you told me.
I can't be in a relationship with someone who doesn't have a Thank goodness, by then she had one,
right.
But she was like, oh yeah, for 2 or 3 years I didn't have a TV at all. I'm like,
she has it just to put things on top of it. Like she is
yeah. I was like, what do you do when you're alone?
Yeah.
And it's I have learned that, like, because for me. I have tinnitus, so if there's nothing on, it's horrible. Yeah. So I have the TV is always.
We need something to
always on in the background because then it's bearable.
I have it. Trina had.
Really?
Oh yeah. There's always a singing little bird. And
then every once in a while, one will just turn off.
Yes.
It's like that happens more as I've gotten older. But all of a sudden, I'll be like.
You're right. The years of the guitar.
Yes.
As they say, 11.
Yes.
We put it at 11. I know, screwed up my ear. It had to. I mean, I don't know what you think yours, but
no, the one sucks. I was always to the right of the amp, and this ear's
same thing.
So, not good. So I need it. Like I'm used to having back, and in my growing up, my parents, it was always. Yeah. Through dinner, like there was always a TV.
Absolutely.
On. So this talking about how important that is, it talked about 5 things that are ways that parents of successful children encourage reading.
Okay.
And some of them I'm doing, and some of them I'm going to have to learn to do.
Okay.
The first one that I think is one that I absolutely is one of my favorite parts of being a dad.
I do this all day.
Is treating baby babble as conversation.
All the time.
I love doing that. It's so good. It's so much fun.
It makes me laugh and have fun. So I'm like,
it is.
I'm never going to stop this.
So that's something you did with both the boys.
Absolutely.
I love doing that. So we got that on lock. Treating baby babble as conversation.
It just sounds funny.
The next thing is they ask lots of questions and wait for answers. So you're constantly, especially obviously as they become more verbal. Right now, yeah. I could be waiting a while.
Could you imagine? I'm waiting.
But I'll still do that. And I'll be like, I don't understand what you're saying. Exactly. Explain it again.
Oh, I still love doing that.
So,
excuse me, sir. What did you say?
But building that, making it a conversation, and really building their ability to kind of go do the back and forth.
And then wait for their answer.
And waiting for their answer. So that's another. So ask lots of questions and wait for answers. This is an interesting one in teaching them to write. That not just talking about letter shapes and how to draw them, but making sure you're talking about the sound and the shape at the same time, connecting
the sound with the look and
what the letter looks like with the sounds that the letter creates.
Makes sense.
Not just names or shapes.
I'm learning so much.
See,
I'm going to be able to read after this.
You're going to show up at Natalie's work and be like, "Hey, babble."
And you'll be like, "That's right, Dad. You are smart.
I know you're crazy." Then they play with words, and then with this one, they're talking about like she sells by the like.
Oh, guys, he sells.
Those kind of things, but. Playing with things, just being clever and funny, and using different rhythmic combinations of words, so they start to understand words as something that can be fun and play with. So playing with words, and then the last thing is, and this I think I'll get better at as we go through. I do this now, like I narrate when it's just like this morning. Mm-hmm. If it's just me and her and I'm trying to keep her entertained and get stuff done, I just narrate the whole process of whatever I'm doing. So I'm funny. So now we're going to feed the dogs. Watson gets more because he's huge. And I'll start, and he gets a cup and a half.
And that was the moment when...
Yes, and that was the moment Daddy realized Mommy was crazy.
If anybody gets that reference, you get an apple.
That's right. They seize. So this one, the number 5 was they seize readable moments all day long. So it's not just reading as the event, reading before event. It's just finding opportunities throughout the day to what's that say and what does that sign say, and finding opportunities to talk about and reinforce reading throughout the day. Kelly is already doing reading time, right? Like she has the little books, and now it's more like they're all very high contrast color stuff. And she engages. She likes Baby Beluga. There's one, a whale book she really likes. She will be all over reading time.
So I want to throw this out there because I grew up with none of this in my... I did. I was going to ask you, and I don't know if you know with Kelly, did she grow up with this, you think, set up to get her reading the way she is now? And how were you? And you just answered that. You were more like my parents did. I had none of this.
It's interesting. When I went to kindergarten, I was way ahead of
I'm not surprised.
of other kids, just because I had my sisters. They were teenagers when I was born, so they taught me. Like I knew my alphabet, and I could read. I could do all that stuff. Yeah. I was way ahead, but there was no story time.
No.
And I enjoyed reading, but like by the time I got into school where reading was important, I had certain authors that I liked to read.
Yeah.
And it's mostly science fiction stuff, and that was it. With Kelly and her family, I think obviously there was a very intense focus put on academics.
There had to
be. That was the only thing that matters.
There had to be. Right.
Very high standard for academic excellence and education in general. But I think her older brother, they are definitely cut from the same cloth in that Kelly is one of these people that knows it's like, what's that plant? Knows it. What's that bird? Knows it. Encyclopedic knowledge of of nature, all that
Things
stuff.
that normal usually don't
She'll
know.
say, everybody knows that. And I'm like, nope.
I know
doesn't.
one bird.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's a robin. I know that. That's a
I'll
robin.
still screw that up.
Yeah. Sparrow, robin.
Yeah. That's a pigeon from downtown Syracuse.
Right.
That's all I
pigeon.
know.
I can recognize those. But yeah, no, she's and I think it's because he was a few years ahead.
Yeah.
And I think he spent a tremendous amount of time kind of being her little tour guide of the world. And that he probably inspired the reading, and it was definitely, I think, for her, because her mom's pretty strict. Mm-hmm. And I think for her and probably her siblings, reading was a little bit of an escape, right?
Yeah.
They would they couldn't have. She was just telling me about this the other day. She's a huge Harry Potter fan, but Harry Potter was a no-no. It was not allowed in the house. So they had a hidden set of Harry Potter books.
Really?
That's their version of being bad, which I think is amusing.
That's their version of me hiding my Judas Priest and Black Sabbath albums. I couldn't have around the house because they looked evil.
That's why I'm always amused. It's just like, you hid Harry Potter books, and my mom found my lockpicks in my closet.
What are you doing with these? Well,
why do you have these? That's what it was like. It's stuff like that.
That's funny how different people grow up.
Yeah, she's like, we had Harry Potter books. Okay, take it easy.
Yeah, the whole reading thing. You can tell because with my wife is very into reading and educated and that sort of stuff that I was not. I come from two parents that didn't even read themselves.
Yeah, the language barrier is a real thing.
It was tough, man.
Yeah.
My mother, I think, went to second grade.
Yep.
And my dad barely made it out of like maybe fifth grade.
Yep.
Or sixth grade. And it's so when you're raising us and then the language, I mean, by the time I was 5, level. I was in my third country of language, so I did have a problem in school. I had a problem with picking up English, and it's not easy. No. English is not easy.
No.
So, I remember having problems with, why is this word sound like this word, but it's not spelled the same, or it is spelled the same, but it means different things. I couldn't figure out, why is there silent anythings?
The languages you knew are much more consistent and organized in a more logical way.
And it's different when you have all these, like, this before this sounds like this, and if you take that away and put that in front of here, it's a instead of a so I made reading like a bad thing. It was like an evil thing to me.
Yeah.
I was scared of it.
Yeah.
So I was always behind in school until it kind of okay, now you have to figure it out. And I'm not the best reader, so if you don't think you're the best reader, you're not going to read as much as you fear it.
Yeah, and then
you don't
practice.
get better at it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's it. Yeah, I was never like I never, even to this day, I don't read. I read a lot, but I read nonfiction. Like I read about whatever I want to learn about.
Right.
There are a handful of books, fiction that I've read.
I wish I did.
Yeah. But so that's something that I'm sure between the two of us.
No, you're gonna.
I think
Josie's gonna
Josie's going to be a reader. So I thought that was fun. So that is book great. Report.
So shows like Sesame Street and all that stuff.
Yeah,
it does. I mean, yes, but they do teach like the A's and they do have the fundamentals of what you're doing and reading and all that.
But now it's Miss Rachel.
I don't even know what it is now.
Miss Rachel. She is the most highly monetized person on YouTube. There's a video going around on TikTok or one of those. It's a reel. And it's showing. It starts with this cute little kid crying, just inconsolable. He's crying, and they put on Miss Rachel, and you hear "Hi," and he goes, "Poop," and he's as happy. He just lights up.
That's scary.
Just the sound of her voice, and then there's like 5 other examples, different kids, and they're all either disinterested or not. And as soon as they hear her voice, I think they have found a way to have some kind of high frequency that only babies hear. To get their attention, because it's remarkable how just the sound of her saying hello.
We had our version of that was Elmo.
We
had him on loop. We had him on loop. I mean, if Natalie cried, we couldn't figure out what
Elmo was the ticket.
Elmo's Christmas or whatever it was. Whatever that movie was, we've seen a billion times. But it was like, put Elmo on, Elmo.
Where's
find
Elmo?
it. Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
awesome.
that was our
But
Miss, what's her name?
Miss Rachel,
Miss Rachel.
I think is her name. I do worry about, because a lot of the content has a particular social or political bent.
Sure.
So
Feels like an
I
agenda
feel
behind it.
I've started to whenever we do have a chance to watch TV, I'll be like, what's Bluey? Like, we're watching episodes of these things to see, is this stuff okay?
Yeah.
Because I find myself, even though I like having the TV on, when I'm doing stuff with her and the TV's on in the background and I see her look at the TV, I'm like,
You already.
that's one thing that I think will be hard, but there will be no screens with her.
Really?
Oh, no way. It is so, everything I've read, everything Kelly has read, it is so detrimental for children. It destroys their ability to socialize, their development in so many ways.
Sticking a pad in their face.
I don't think.
With the, how many
see
times
it all
do you see that?
Yeah, it's just like that's here.
Always.
And the kid, like,
instead of just talking.
Yeah.
And being part of the situation and the family and the moment.
It completely short circuits their development.
And I tell you, I've been there, and sometimes you need something.
Yep.
And I get it. I'm not trying to tear this down. I've been there, but you have to know.
I do worry.
It's bad.
I do worry that there's going to be that moment where I want to turn to that.
You give up and you fall.
But I feel like what I'm trying to do is cultivate. I would rather it be music. I want to try to find a way to use music to do that, to redirect, and hopefully I can build in her like that love of it.
You know when it starts is when they get a little older and you start doing family stuff with the public.
Yeah.
Restaurants. Yep. You're in places where you don't want to be seen and heard and all. So that's
don't want
when
the kid to go
crazy.
Yeah.
And that's where I think most parents have problems with it. They don't want to be looked at. At a restaurant at Disney, or maybe not Disney because everybody's crying, but some church or this, that, the other, and that's when you start going, okay, just for now, let me do this, and you might get into that kind of habit. It's scary.
I'm sure there's going to be. Yeah,
we weren't crazy, but we had our moment.
The proof is in the pudding. It works.
She's already
right. Like the little kids, like. You see it. It's like they're mesmerized. Yeah. But in that moment when you're looking at your kid, I would think if I saw my little girl and she's like that, it's kind of weird, right? Like they just are like,
oh, it's like a zombie.
Yeah, they're like a zombie looking at the thing, and they'll do it for as long as you let them. And when you take it away, they act like you just took away their crack.
That's the scary part about it is how. You know how long you've abused it by the way they act when you take it away.
When you take it away, yeah. No, I hope I can avoid that. You never know. 10 episodes from now, I might be like, nope, she's in front of the TV.
She's got 4 computers in front of the TV.
I got her.
I don't see that happening, though. I don't see that happening.
No,
she'll be playing piano by 3.
I'd rather that. Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's a tiny violin.
Absolutely. The way your
that.
brain opens up with music. Oh, my God. And
without a doubt.
How easy it is to learn other things. It's like language. When you pick up another language, it just opens your mind up to everything else. So
I started
didn't work with me, but...
no, but yeah, so I hopefully we can avoid that.
Yes.
But we're going to move on now to something we have not done since April Fool's Day.
April Fool's.
And it is Check So if you recall, since it's been a while, Check Please, I'm going to, for the rest of my daughter's life, track how much money her mother and I are spending on her. So we went through and updated it. So now the last time we did it was a little over a month ago, and our total was $4,309.63.
Okay.
On everything. Yeah. Most of it, I think the number one spending category was the Cradlewise,
sure.
And then Amazon. So in about another 6 weeks, most of which of the time that she's been, the second half of her being home.
So we're eliminating what to these costs? We're not, because I know we've done a lot of stuff. There's been big things that happened.
Yeah.
This is just what, clothes and
that's
materials?
A good question. Should I be throwing like the baptism expenses?
Yeah, and things like you're spending it on your daughter.
This would be a lot higher.
That's what I mean.
No, I don't include that.
We won't play that way, I guess, because it'll be in the millions.
Like the brunch was kind of more for us.
Exactly.
She didn't have any eggs Benedict.
Right.
So it's basically anything that's really directly for her. Diapers, clothes, or equipment that we need in support of her survival.
Okay.
So
6 weeks. I'm horrible at this. So
I think you're going to get better over time.
I don't know. 6 weeks.
I will say it's mostly this time. It was it was a little bit of equipment, bottle stuff. It was clothes. I talked about some of the clothes when I traveled.
Yep. Didn't tell me how much it cost, but you told me you bought stuff.
And then obviously diapers.
Oof, that could be a deal breaker for her. And the way I hear about Josie's
sometimes she got me for the first time in a long time. She got me on a double this morning. She did. She smiled at me and peed. I'm like, that was
I'm going to say in 6 weeks, we are going to round it right off a nice $700. Let's say $5,000.
You're very close. So you're getting better.
Really?
Yep. Even we were going through it, and even Kelly she was further off than you, and she's helping me, giving me what she bought.
She's the one,
Because I put in everything I've done, and then I'm like, okay, you got to tell me what you did.
Funny.
So the new total is $49.25.53. You were within $100.
Yeah.
See, that's so about
I would have won
almost $600.
Yeah.
A lot of it was clothes, some travel stuff that I was not aware of. Kelly got a travel cooler for when you have to bring bottles and a travel bottle warmer, which I would have thought we would just bring the mom cozy because it's not that big.
True.
But so we have some extra equipment that I'm going to have to learn how to use. But that was it. So yeah, $49.25.53. Still not as high as I thought we were going to end up being.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
You're still under $5,000.
Yeah, still under $5,000. Almost. Well, obviously
we save $5,000 like it's $10.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean? Still under $5,000.
We're so spoiled. Yeah, we don't even think about it.
Our parents bought their house at $23,000.
My parents?
Yeah,
it was $9,000 they bought their house for in
you're almost there.
1955.
You're almost there.
Yep.
That's funny.
No, it is. But so that is it for check, please.
All right. Hey, don't miss any of the fun. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram.
And we're going to roll into what just happened. So I think we had something that happens to every parent. It was a first for us. Mm-hmm. It was our first unnecessary trip to the pediatrician.
Sad.
So, and I don't know how much we talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
But one afternoon, Kelly mentioned that the baby is holding her. She's kind of had her head tilted and staying that way. Mm. She's fine. She's as smiley as she always is. She's interacting. She's good, but she's just kind of like that. And, I had thought about and noticed, I typically, if I hold her in a cradle hold head here, she's always looking that way.
Right.
So I'm like, well, she's always kind of.
So you're thinking the way you're holding her direction wise, that's where she's looking.
Yeah, she's looking in that direction. But I had thought a couple times, I'd lay her down. She's always looking that way. And then she would look our way. Mm-hmm. And we're doing tummy time and different things. So I kind of discounted it when she brought it up. I'm like, oh, she looks different ways. Because then at one point when she seemed a little more concerned, I took the baby to the bed. I got a little Josie. I got a pillow. And I start like I do with tummy time. And I put her, and she's looking this way. And Kelly is like, see, she's looking. I'm like, no, she's actually looking in the opposite direction of what you've been complaining about.
Yeah, because now we're in a different
right.
position.
And I'm, I think she's fine. But if you call the pediatrician if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, so she called and they said, well, you can bring her in, or we had a follow up later in the week, I think, with the lactation consultant. So that, or maybe we can set up something for then. This was earlier in the week, so not a thing. We weren't so worried. The next day, having coffee, I got my computer, and I'm keeping an eye on her, and I've got her in the little baby Bjorn seat. Sure. So she's on the table in front of me, and I'm looking at her, and she is like, her body is a C. She is completely like I can't even do
Just
it.
hunched over.
Just hunched this way and that. So head tilted and looking off to the right, and just absolutely looks uncomfortable.
Yeah,
acting not uncomfortable at all. So she's fine. Like, she's happy, she's smiling, we're talking like we always do. She's completely behaviorally, interactively okay. She's fine. But it just looks so weird. So, of course, what did I do? What you should never do, which is Google search. And I do Google search, and I find something immediately called Torticollis. Torticollis, which is also called, apparently, Rhineck.
Jesus.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of Rhineck before, but maybe people know it from that. Torticollis it is a condition that can be something from birth or something that develops later on in there as an infant or even as an older child, where in some cases one of the muscles in the neck is shorter on one side than the other. So as they develop and things loosen up and change, they start to do that. Sometimes it is because of their position in utero. When they're developing, they're all kind of, if they were in that position a lot, they tend to drift.
That's what they're used to, right?
Drift toward that. And of course, immediately, and we talked about it, I think I've gotten better, but seeing this, immediately I go to...
Yeah, you're looking at it and reading. Now you're like, it is what it is.
And I'm like, I'm more, and then I'm looking at... Now, even if it was that, the long-term solution is like, look, it usually corrects itself. If it doesn't, there are very simple surgeries that can be done.
There's options.
There's things. So it's not, but I'm like, call the doctor. Kelly comes and looks, and yeah, it looked like she should be in pain.
Somebody should be crying when they're in that position.
Yeah, and the thing that sold it for me was, I'm like, okay, if there's nothing wrong, if nothing's tight, then I kind of picked her up and I held her on her side. So imagine she's like facing me, and she was bent this way.
Okay.
So I'm holding her so that she should fold down.
Right.
Right. She should loosen up, and she didn't get past level.
So she was like...
So the muscles on that side were tight.
Yes, yeah.
And it wasn't like she was trying... And she was happy as a clam while I'm doing it. She's smiling at me. But I'm like, okay, yeah, no, there's something. And I was even looking up like, well, maybe we can do just some heat, a little warm, like to loosen up the muscles. And Kelly's like, let's go to the doctor. Like,
do not put any heat.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not going to like throw a hot pack on her. But yeah, so we make the trip, and we get there, and it's funny because, again, throughout the day, the first day when I poo-pooed it, by the end of the day, we were giving her a bath. It was not evident at all.
Really?
The next morning, bam,
back to
horseshoe, and I'm like, oh, okay, what is this? What's going on? So, but then again, a couple out there, the pediatrician, great. They're like, well, you can bring her in. We call them like when they opened at 8:30 in the morning, and they got us in at like 11. So we show up. By the time we get there, she's looking in the other direction.
Yeah, she's tap dancing.
And of course, the pediatrician that we see, Cheryl's a very nice woman. She's going through and doing all, and she's like, look, there's nothing apparently wrong. She's checking her pupils and doing all that. So she does a good exam, and she's like, there is a thing called torticollis. It could be that. I'm going to refer you to an orthopedic specialist. But if this, and the way she said it was kind of funny, if this happens to resolve, don't feel compelled to go.
Right.
Like, so basically she's like, she's starting the clock on that in case this isn't, but already you could tell this was just a thing. She was, she was favoring that way, and then all of a sudden better. And by the next day, it hasn't happened since.
Really?
Yep. Just gone.
I was gonna ask you after you. What's the improvement?
No recurrence whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah. And never again like that.
That bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it was a little spooky, especially because she wasn't bothered by it. But when you read more about the torticollis stuff, it was like, they made it sound like it was like almost like a muscle spasm that would be uncomfortable. And she never.
That's what I was going to ask. The children that have this, are they uncomfortable?
And I think, they don't talk about it as being painful, but it definitely.
But it's not something they're going to smile at.
No, they're not going to be completely normal.
Exactly.
So we were a little trigger happy.
Well, that's when you bring them. I mean, when you see stuff like that.
Yeah.
And again, I never experienced that with my children.
Yeah.
So if I saw that myself, I would be like, oh, no, this is not what I'm used to.
Yep.
We have a good doctors and place to go, and they take care of you. So, hey, nothing is too small and nothing too, you know what I mean?
Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Without
it's
a
like
doubt.
If you
can do it, you can do it, and they get you in. And
I would rather if you had a child and had that before.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, I remember, Junior had that.
Yeah.
But now you're like sitting there going, okay. And then you, like you said, you looking it up. Stop that.
Oh yeah. No, there's
drive yourself crazy.
So many things. But yeah, so we had our that happen. Yeah. And then we came up on, so this would have been 2 weeks ago. So right before this was just a couple days before we had to go for our 2-month physical, whatever, checkup at the pediatrician. Now in between, Josie got to meet one of her cousins who's toddler age, right?
Okay.
Came to visit over the weekend. Now goes to daycare. Was a great little girl. She comes to visit with her mom, and she's very very attentive, wants to play, and she's having a good time. Now, and a great visit. It was nice to see. But we have very little exposure, right? And we're not keeping her sequestered from people, but she hasn't met a lot of people, hasn't met any children, especially a child that's going to daycare and interacting with lots of other kids.
In the world.
Yes, all the germs. So the next day, by the afternoon, she's starting to sound a little stuffy.
Really?
And by the evening, very stuffy, a little crabby, and I'm starting to feel like I'm stuffy. I'm like, oh, okay. But the next morning is our 2-month appointment.
Okay.
So Kelly takes her temperature, no fever. So we're okay. Very stuffy. So we didn't bust out the snot sucker, but I don't even know how, I haven't looked at that up close to see, but her nostrils are so tiny.
They're so tiny.
But there was some stuff like saline. She put a little saline in and got a pretty good sized cookie out.
Nice.
And she was breathing more clear, more freely. But she was basically, in a good mood, but a little fussy.
Yeah.
So, but at the 2-month, that's the first round of vaccinations.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not looking forward to that. But we go, but of course we mentioned the cold. They take the temperature. And she's got a little low-grade fever. So then it's like, oh, okay, no vaccinations. And we see the doctor. She's great. Goes, looks her over. Yeah, she's got a little cold. She's got a little fever. Don't be too concerned. Take her temperature. If it comes up a little bit, they gave us some baby Tylenol. And I didn't know obviously it's not a pill. So they give you the liquid in the syringe and they show you how much and all that stuff. And we'll reschedule. We'll have follow up in a week. So went home. And now when Kelly had taken the temperature, she did under the arm.
Okay.
The rectal temperature, which baby Josie is not a fan of, was more accurate because it was like a low grade 100.5. Gotcha. Like it was very, very low grade, but still it was fever. So when we checked it later rectally, then it was. So she still had it. So baby Josie does not spit up.
No.
Like my sister Lucille talks about her son Shane, that the doctor described him as, I think she said he would call him a spitter, meaning he spit up all the time. Like he spit up all the time. It does not happen with
I don't remember my kids be that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trina, let me know.
Very little. Yeah. So there you go. Very little of that. But we did the Tylenol, took it fine. She didn't seem bothered by it. But then this was the worst one ever. Kelly's standing in the great room, kind of next to the love seat. And she goes, "Oh no." Okay. And I look, and it must have been a whole feed, because it was like all over poor Kelly, all over her blouse and sweater, down to her pants on the floor. Now she's fine. Josie's like, well, okay.
She's probably feeling great.
It's like, then we're like trying to get the dogs are we'll take care of it.
About the dogs.
So like we're getting the dogs away. We get Kelly cleaned up, and then we had to give her there was no way any of it stayed, so we had to give her another dose.
Of course, yeah.
One success. The second time, no problem. We gave her the little small dose, and by the next day, fine. Yeah, which was good.
Yeah.
So we had our first experience with overreacting, and then we had our first experience with an actual cold.
Sure. That was
good. Her immune system, she
got it in and got it out.
Yeah, she kicked it in a day or so and was feeling much better.
Strong,
and that was it. So then the big event coming up from the next week was getting ready for and then having the baptism.
Sure.
Which, as many of you know, Carlo and Trina are the godparents. Yep. So we had some work to do to satisfy the clerical requirements.
So funny.
Of the
just calling me up and going, "Do you have the testaments of the third priest in Sicily?"
We had to have baptismal certificates for both of them, and then also confirmation, and because they happen to be a couple, their marriage certificate, all from the church. Luckily, they were helpful, and I had to drive down and pick up the paperwork.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah, I drove down. And so is the pastor there now?
He left. Yeah, the new pastor is, I believe, an Irish.
Is he like a short guy?
Yeah.
I don't know who.
My height.
You're right. Sorry.
You mean my height?
Because it wasn't. I went to the rectory there, and this guy let me in. He didn't introduce himself or anything, and I was like, "I'm here to pick up some paper." Cereal. Yep. And I went in.
Kind of younger, but not. I mean, not old.
No, maybe 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was him. It might have been a janitor.
It could have been a janitor.
He gave me the stuff, and on my way.
And the funny part is, on my end.
Yeah, that's right.
My stuff came from
your birth certificate from Sicily, from the baptismal certificate. Yeah. So I got it all together, put it together, brought it in, and we had to meet with our church has baptismal coordinators for new parents. So we got to meet with Lindsay and Dom. Were the couple. Okay. Really nice couple.
Shout out.
We got, they kind of sent us all, we had to watch a video. It was like a couple hours and answer some questions. We had to fill out paperwork ourselves. And then we had to meet with them and talk a little bit about how the baptism would go. But really nice couple. We recognized them from going to Mass. Sure. We see them, but we had never been introduced. So we took care of that. And then Kelly's parents came from Buffalo the night before, and her older brother and his wife. So they were all here in the morning to go to Mass. Her other brother and his family came along. And I was a little disappointed, because Father Sight, I was hoping would be doing the baptism. He is pastor for 2 parishes, so he did like the homily at 10 a.m. Mass at one,
jumped in the car,
and then he does Mass at the other one at 11:30. So he wasn't going, but the
deacon was.
Deacon Brian's a great guy. I really like him. At Mass, he did do the homily, and I think he was. Do you remember? He pointed out. He's like, "There's baptisms, and for some of these, it's their first child."
He's still dealing with that.
I think he is.
He's like, still really. I'm surprised. He goes, "Really, you're first? You should." Yeah,
I'm sure. And I thought maybe they were wrong, but no. So he did a nice homily. We had a very nice Mass. Faith is very important to Kelly's mom. Yeah. So, but I think our parish showed well. Like we had a nice Mass, and then Deacon Brian did a great job. There were 3 babies being baptized. He did a great job with the whole. Yeah, it was neat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously took a little longer because there's 3.
Yep.
But it was really nice because you got to see other families and stuff and enjoy themselves as much as we did.
Yeah, it was fun. So we did that. And then luckily, because it was Mother's Day when we had it, we were able to find a brunch that we could go to. So we had reservations. We went out to a place in Fayetteville, Craftsman Inn, and family came out.
Had a ball.
And so what did you think of the overall experience of godparenting?
I did it once before with my nephew, Peter. And we did it again with our nephew, Nicholas, but we were not in the same location. We were in Syracuse, and Nicholas was in Florida. So we were just named, but we didn't celebrate. This one was special because generally, you're not at our age when you're asked to be a godparent. You're generally in the 30s, and everybody's having kids and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to do it again at 56 years old. I thought the Mass was perfect. It was a really nice way to do it. They do the Mass, and then because it was Mother's Day, it felt like a special. It was a special day as it was with Kelly being the first
her first Mother's Day.
And then the baptism, which faith is very important to us, which is a huge part of our faith. Yeah, it was just great. It was great. And then lunch, obviously, was the brunch. The place is gorgeous.
Yeah, that was a good. I mean, I think they do it on other holidays. I would go back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It was a nice brunch. The food was excellent.
A lot of different food.
Nice variety.
So you can go brunch way, you can go totally lunch, you can go totally breakfast. Yeah, you did a nice job.
Good. It was also helpful because my sister Paula and Avid, obviously they were there, but I had pressed into service since the baby for Kelly's birthday that happened not long ago, and then for Mother's Day, I had some gifts that I needed to have wrapped. And
Paula told me about this.
Well, there were 2. Did she tell you about there was the jewelry and then the book
She just told me boxes were given to her, not even opened.
I showed up. I'm like, here, just a bunch of boxes from various places. But there were 2 things. So I was talking with Kelly this morning about talking about, well, what's the notable stuff from baptism and the brunch? She's like, well, you made me cry. And I'm like, at first I'm like,
that was, I know,
but
exactly.
She did. So what got her, which in my mind, I'm like, okay, that's a win. What got her to crying was there was this thing that I found, and it's a company called Wonderbly.
Wonderbly,
I think. Wonderbly. Or Wonderly, something like that. Sure. I'll put a link. I'll put a link in the description of the episode. And they do custom books for different life events. And there was one for a first Mother's Day with a mother and daughter. And you can customize it, right? So you pick out mother or daughter. And then you can customize it so the characters in the book
shapes and tallness
even look So you can pick dark hair and glasses and ponytail.
Have a tan, no tan, red
skin
hair.
tones, and it's not super detailed, but it was enough that I could. Yeah, you could do it. And then if you want to, you can write specifically what you would like on a particular page, like an inscription. So I did that in the beginning, but it was a cute little book. Now, and I thought it was kind of a 50-50 shot. Either she was going to be very touched, which she was, or she was going to think it was hokey.
If you told me what you did, I would have told you without that it's going to be the one and only thing that makes you cry.
It's going to be the thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So she did really like that, and of course my sister did a nice job of wrapping.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was I wanted to get her some kind of jewelry, first child, all that. So baby Josie's birthstone is aquamarine. So I did a bunch of searches and I found there's a company called Angara, Angara.
We'll have that.
There'll be a link on there too. Beautiful stuff. Unbeknownst to me, but my brother-in-law had bought a couple pieces of jewelry, or at least one, for my sister from them.
That's cool.
So I found it was a nice teardrop pendant
Very pretty.
On a chain. Very pretty.
Yeah. And
you could pick like whatever size stone and whatever clarity. So I picked it out. I was very proud of my selection. So I took a screenshot and I texted it to my sister, who is a jewelry person, and
For her approval,
to get her, she thought it was nice and all that. Now, of course, that screenshot then resides in my phone.
Of course.
And among all the other dozens of pictures of baby Josie. And so at one point, as we do, I cast photographed from my phone to the screen, to the television,
the big screen
in our great room, and we're looking at pictures and we're flipping through, and all of a sudden it's Josie Watson pendant on the screen,
gift,
and Kelly's like, "That's pretty."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Yeah."
Oh,
and
crap.
I thought quickly, and I'm like, "My sister has been sending me pictures. She thinks I need to buy you something, some kind of jewelry." Because of the baby, and she's been sending me pictures, and I just so I try to play it off, and I'm thinking there's no way she must know, but so then to really lay it on thick,
throw it off.
I tell my sister Paula later, I'm like, okay, here's what happened. I tell her what happened.
This is
and
hilarious.
I'm like, you've got to text and start looking things up and texting to me randomly.
That's funny.
And so then I can play it and say, see,
yeah, she's still sending.
And it worked. I think we'll have to ask and see if she really knew it was because.
But at least it took her off the initial.
It threw her off the scent a little.
I had to.
And,
oh, wait a minute. Maybe he's.
But I was like, yeah, it was per one time we were literally eating dinner. My phone goes off. I look.
There
and
it is.
I'm like, see, I'm telling you, she won't leave me alone. And
that's funny.
So I
Good
think
for you to even think of that.
I think it worked. But the other problem is.
You're dangerous. You know that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If you could think that quickly and stuff like that, I would be scared.
A little bit.
What you're going to show me. Is this real, Frank?
No, it is. So anyway, because I ordered it online, we don't have cable. We have YouTube TV.
Okay.
Well, YouTube TV connected to Google.
Sure,
That's how I search for everything.
Yeah.
And it pipes special commercials to you based on what you search on. Right? So like I get commercials for like guitars. Like it's like commercials no other person would see. And so since I went to their website, every day we'll be watching the news and there's a commercial from Angara. I'm like, oh, come on, you're killing me.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, but I think she probably expected it.
Well, she probably suspected some jewelry.
Yes, but I think
you took her off the scent of what jewelry.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she does seem to like the pendant as well. So I was happy with that. And what I think was equally funny was one of the things that my sister loves about that company is in the box that the jewelry comes in, they build in an LED light.
That's so cool.
To make it sparkle when you open it up.
That is really good.
Now the battery in hers that my brother-in-law has given her has since died. So she's like, if you're not going to use the box, she's been vying for the box since before.
That's funny.
So I thought I'm going to find a way to change the battery in her box just because she did a good. She did
I
do a
could
good
just see
job.
Paula every day. She's like,
yeah, it's that
for that battery to die.
It's that.
What are you doing with it?
Right.
How many times? It's like a refrigerator.
Yeah.
What are you doing over here?
Peeking at it every once in a while. Putting it back in.
Yeah, just put it back, playing the game. Oh, surprise!
Look how it sparkles.
I know she's listening. Stop opening that.
Yes, just close it.
Save
it for
walk away.
Save it for special occasions.
Special days.
That's funny.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was a beautiful day.
Yes.
Weather-wise, it was sunny
gorgeous.
and nice,
Yeah.
and we had a nice meal afterwards.
And it was on Mother's Day.
And on Mother's Day,
nice.
which was nice. So yeah, I thought it was a wonderful day all the way around.
Yeah.
And then we had our follow-up just today.
Oh.
Because we couldn't do the vaccinations.
Right.
Because of the sniffles.
The sniffies.
We went back earlier today and we had our first vaccinations. So it was three vaccinations. So one was oral and then one in each leg shots. Now, so the three this is one, there's a series, there's a ton of vaccinations. There's all kinds of stuff to read.
Yeah.
Some of it I'm uncomfortable with. But generally,
of what they could
just
reactions.
I feel like there are certain ones that I just feel like we have so many in the United States, and for some that I just think it's ridiculous. Yeah. Now there is a chicken pox Like you had chickenpox.
Sure.
I had chickenpox. Everybody
Had
did.
the scar right here.
We would have parties, right?
If we didn't have them, we would get together and get it.
Right.
Get your kids together.
That's what it was.
So we can get
That's
rid
what
of
happened to me.
Exactly.
The kid down the street got it.
Get it.
They let everybody know from the school. I got to go to a party with that kid.
Get it.
And you get it and you get it out of the way and it's done. Now, then they come out with the vaccine.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why do you need a vaccine? The kid's just going to get it. Well, now you have to get the vaccine. It's because if you don't get the vaccine, so few kids get it. You get it when you're older, and it's dangerous.
It's shingles.
Yes. Yeah. So, or if you get it as an older child,
is bad.
Is bad.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it, and there's a tremendous amount of reading and information. But as is often the case, our pediatrician, if you don't sign up to take every one of them, they won't see you. You can't go there.
Or you can't go to school. You have to
some
certain
of them,
ones.
you
got to have them, or you ain't good.
Yeah.
You ain't good.
But anyway, so the three today were Vaccination, Prevnar 13, and rotavirus.
Absolutely.
So Vaccination is actually 6 vaccines in one. So it's diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, hepatitis, and some others.
Gotcha. Was that the oral one, or
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. Okay.
Prevnar 13. It sounds like a planet in Star Trek.
We landed 13
covers 13 types of pneumonia, and then rotavirus is the one that gives you the scoots.
Ooh,
but it's a dangerous one for little kids, so they got those. So there was the 3. The oral one, she was like, didn't like that.
I need a chaser, Dad.
Now, and it was I thought it was going to be worse with the shots. It was definitely a kind of crying that I have not heard of until now. But I feel like she handled it well.
It doesn't last long.
It didn't last too long. Yeah. And it's afterwards, they leave you in the rooms, and Kelly was going to feed. And I was like, well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And Kelly looks at me like I'm a monster. She's like, it wasn't? And I'm like, well, no. Like I was.
All you have to say is, I expected just horror.
Honestly, I'm thinking, don't cry.
I cried. I tear up.
I was worried I was going to cry. She, I think, handled it like a champ. It was also like a delayed reaction. I thought as soon as the needle hit her.
Now that you say that, I think that's true. They're like, what just?
What did they figure out? Like, no, that just happened.
You're absolutely right. I do remember that.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
checkup was fine. We have a new weight.
Ooh.
Now last time 10 pounds. Official last one was 10 pounds 5 ounces, I think, and it was a couple weeks ago.
Have we hit 11?
I thought we were going to be there.
So we're at 10 pounds 10 ounces.
10 pounds 15 and a half.
Oh, right there.
10 pounds 15 and a half ounces. That's like if she had one more boob of feeding.
If she didn't have that one day of
that'd be it. But yeah, so she's right at 11.
We could say 11.
Right at 11 pounds. So otherwise, good visit. Yeah. Checked her all out. Listened to everything. I really like that practice, and I really like the woman that's been working with us, Cheryl. I think she's great.
So imagine that place where you go.
Yep.
Now imagine my son Nicholas still going there, because that's where the last place. Just with the Mickey Mouse and
that's
my
funny.
Son's like 6'1", right?
That's gotta be weird.
And he's just like, Dad, can I go to your doctor?
Can I please switch?
Can I please go to your doctor now?
That's funny.
And I'm like, whatever, bro.
But they're not going to give you a lollipop.
Shut up and put your diaper on.
That's right. Shut up and hop up on the table.
Hop on that table. We have to weigh you.
That's funny.
So that's funny. I know you don't know what we're laughing about, but it's
an adorable practice.
Adorable.
But it's like Bluey
Disney.
is playing. There's a chalkboard in everything's black and white and red.
Yeah.
All Disney characters. It
my
is.
son walking in.
I can't picture it.
Oh, I got
sometimes when we're there, there'll be like a 9-year-old and they look like, God,
stumbling, going, come on, why am I here?
Yep. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that was earlier today. But yeah, so we've had lots of things. The first that I think that I have had that I think are the most interesting.
Yeah.
I think some of them are not even first yet. They're like, I think they're coming. But one of them is we had our first outside tummy time. It was a beautiful day.
Outside tummy time on the grass?
We on the deck. brought out a blankie.
Of course.
Did a little rolling around out there, fresh air. I bring almost every morning now that we've had some nicer weather. Even it's a little chilly yet, but we'll go out just for a little while. Let her listen to the birdies, feel the breeze, get some fresh air. But yeah, we had outside tummy time.
Nice.
She's definitely already mastering being flirtatious.
What?
She knows how. She just does these little head tilts, and she uses her eyes effectively.
She's so
and
cute.
This is the thing that I think is not a first yet, but I told Kelly this, and I do think this is what's happening. I'll be talking to her being goofy, and she'll just look up and to the left like this, and she's smiling. But I think what she's doing is it's the beginning of an eye roll. I think she's getting ready to be like, oh my God. I think she's
funny.
developing the, oh my God.
Not this
my
again.
father is such, so I think she's working on her eye roll.
That's funny.
It'll be like, I'm sure by like 6 months, it'll be like Tina Fey quality, like super eye roll.
Is there any better thing than a baby smiling? My God, I think that'll end any war.
It is
just fight.
It's impossible to
laughter.
Appreciate the biological component of being a father.
Mm-hmm.
I would never have thought that there was anything like that. Like for a woman, sure, there's all kinds of things happening, but there's no doubt that is somehow triggers the biggest dopamine hit
it has to
in your brain
of
anything without some kind of injection.
It absolutely does something.
You just light up. You can't help but light up.
You can be the strongest, meanest. I don't care what you are, and that little thing comes at you with a smile. And you're like, oh.
You can't help it.
Oh my God! There's nothing like it. So much power.
Yep.
So much power.
It is. It is a lot of power.
A lot of power.
Okay, so that is.
That was a big week. 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, a couple weeks. We had a lot happen. I'm looking forward to now nicer weather.
Yeah.
We got her little life preserver for being out on the boat, and some sun
little
hats.
Boat girl.
Yep, we're gonna be a little.
Be with her shades and putting on her.
Sun coated in, with
100
Kelly's
or whatever.
Coated in SPF 20,000. It's like, is that concrete? What is it? What are you putting on? Or anyway, but thank you for once again making it to the end, and we will be giving more updates in a couple of weeks.
Wait for number 26. Oh,
20.
The excitement of 26 is going to be.
It'll be a whole new level.
Whole new level of excitement.
That's it.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, folks, that's another episode of the Gray Hair and Daycare Podcast in the books. Thanks very much for tuning in and spending this time with us. We hope it was fun. If you enjoyed this week's descent into the madness of dadness, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of our future adventures. And while you're at it, give us a like and share the cast with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Carrier Pigeon, whatever you crazy kids are using. Have any hilarious parenting stories of your own? Questions about navigating fatherhood later in life, or even when normal people do it? Email us at ghdc.podcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to bed.